discussion this morning, new rules of real estate investing in 2026. The old real estate playbook was simple: buy, hold, refinance, repeat. In 26, that's just not enough. Higher for longer borrowing costs, slower price growth, shifting mitigation patterns, insurance pressures, and tighter underwriting have changed the game. Investors can still win, but the winners are no longer the people buying anything with cash flow potential. They have to have ones with buying with precision. So precision is going to be key in investing nowadays. It's not like, hey, I got to look at some hypotheticals down the road. Cash flow matters again. It's all about the cash on cash return. Like I had a discussion with a client this morning. I said, listen, what is your objective with this property? She's like, I'm buying it with undervalued market rents. I'm going to get the market rents up. But I said, I got to base my cash flow today because it's got to work. I said, so you're trying to bring as least amount of money as possible to the property, because your cash flow right now, you're making $800 a month. If you get the rents where you need to be, this is like a 3 unit. You're making $800 a month. She's going to be at $1,200 to $1,500 a month if she does this right. I said, so are you just trying to bring as least money to the table? She's like, yeah, I really like to keep my costs low. I said, well, listen, your debt service today is 1.34. I said, if we take out the origination and bake that into the rate and just eliminate the origination and just give you just a little higher rate at 6.75 instead of 6.5, guess what the debt service changes to? She's like, what? 1.37. It didn't change at all. So it's not about the rate, it's about the structure in that situation. Because I like that. It's just a little less, that money that I would give you in origination for the better rate, I could dump that into a new AC unit. So like the clients are listening to things a lot differently now because the rates are going to be what they are. They're going to be in the 6s, low 7, maybe mid to low 6s. It really all depends on what loan to value you're going to be at, what cash flow you're going to be at, what DSCR you're going to be at, what's your credit. Because all direct private lenders, if you're a direct private lender and not a broker or not a regulated bank, we're only conducting a soft pull on your credit. So we're not doing a hard pull or a hard inquiry. So it puts a lot less pressure on the client to concern themselves that their credit's going to be impacted by the inquiry. And affordability is the investment thesis. The strongest demand is not necessarily in luxury housing, it's in attainable housing. So what we're seeing right now is a lot more properties on the market, just sitting. And when offers are being made, investors are looking at Class B rentals now, because somebody that at one point was like, hey, I'm going to go buy a house for myself, right? They're now going to rent a little longer because they feel like there's economic uncertainty, there's constraints, potential unemployment, just life in general. It's scaring them. They'd rather just have lesser responsibility to ownership. Where now a landlord can buy a property with 20% down on a Class B house and basically rent back to the person that could actually afford to buy it themselves, but just took a pass on it. Think about that. And it's no longer you have to go into the hood to be a landlord. You don't have to be a Section 8 landlord. You could be a Class B landlord and put 20% down or do light to medium rehab in a Class B, B+ neighborhood and just rent the property. But that takes a little more due diligence in understanding the rental market capacity in that market. Now there's great software out there now, way past beyond Zillow, to identify the right rental comps in your market, such as ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, Gemini, and it gives you precision. It gives you a little more comfort in doing your due diligence, especially if you think you're going to flip a property on a rehab, but what if you don't flip it? What if you miss the spring market? What if you miss the summer market? What if you miss the fall market? What if you're done with your rehabilitation during Christmas? Who's buying a house during Christmas or New Year's? Nobody. Very little. So inventory creates an opportunity, but not everywhere. So more inventory does not automatically mean better deals. Some markets are normalizing, others are weakening. Others still have severe housing shortages. The opportunity is to understanding the difference. Look for markets where population, jobs, wages, and rental demand support the investment, not just where prices have dropped. So I can tell you, I'm very familiar with the Philadelphia market. We're here in Philadelphia. I'll use that as a great example. Rents are going down. They're not going up. Values are going down in most of Philadelphia other than the far northeast and the far northwest. It's just a fact. Or if they're not going down, they're stagnant. Houses are on the market longer. There's deeper discussions on how to properly list the property. Licensed agents are not familiarized with what's going on in the market. They're not paying attention. They're not looking at outside sources to get their information. Debt strategy is now just as important as deal strategy. In 26, financing can make or break the investment. Investors need to think beyond the purchase price, rate resets, DSCR terms, balloon payments, refinance risk, insurance increases, and tax changes all need to be modeled before closing. A good property with bad debt can become a very bad investment. I'll give you some examples. If you underestimate your insurance estimate on a property, it's no longer $900 for a single family row home for insurance. It's between $1,200 and $1,500. And really you need a more specific number. That's too much of a variable. That $1,200 to $1,500 is going to eat either $300 of profitability in your deal or not. So you need a more precise number. So if you're a real estate professional, or even a real estate investor for that matter, or service provider, there's no kind of number. There's no kind of number. Don't tell me the property's worth somewhere between $300 and $350. That's not a number. I get nervous when somebody's telling me that, because I think they don't know what they're doing. Right? I'm also concerned when somebody tells me I think the taxes are somewhere between $3,500 and $5,000. Or the insurance is going to be somewhere between $1,200 and $1,600. Somebody's not doing their homework, right? Or what's the rental comp in the market? Well, it's somewhere between $1,400 and $1,800. That's not a number.
Well, why not?
Well, because you need to be precise. You can't guess. So you're going to give me a guessable number at $400 variable? That could mean you're either in a loss or you're in a profit. That's why. So there's no guessing. There's no kind of number. When you're, and we're live actually on a podcast, so it's okay. Just raise your hand if you want to ask questions. No, you weren't here when I kind of gave the heads up. It's okay. So when you're calling a lender, whoever you're going to call, it doesn't have to be me, whoever you decide to work with, you need to have precise numbers that you're confident with. And don't make everything sound or look good. Put some worst case variable numbers, precise. Well, if you think the rent's going to be between $1,400 and $1,800, $1,600. Just give me a number. Taxes are somewhere between $35,000 and $5,000. Get a real tax number. Get a real insurance quote. Get a real comp, a real after repair value. Don't give me a $50,000 variable. That gets me more or less confident in what you're doing. Okay, my confidence level as a lender has to go up, not down, with you. No kind of numbers. Then you're going to have a kind of bad experience with whoever you work with. I'm going to guarantee that. Precisely, you'll have a bad a moment with that. You know why most people have a bad time with their lender? Because they're not giving the correct information up front, and the lender's taking your word on some of the numbers. Does that make sense? So like as people are telling me the address, I'm looking it up, and I'm like, where are you getting this comp from? This comp doesn't exist in this market. Nobody has sold a property for $350 in the last 4 years. Your comp values here are $323. Oh yeah, you're right. Well, am I buying the property or are you buying the property? You see where I'm going with this? I'm not the most, listen, I'm not here to be your drinking buddy. I'm here to give you precise opportunity to make money when you buy, right? So in 26, it's just completely different. Local knowledge is the edge. So my thought to that, for anyone listening here or on the podcast, and I asked this question just the other day, when's the last time you've been to a zoning meeting in a market that you're looking to buy in? When's the last time you went to a council meeting in the market that you're buying in? Finding out who's winning and losing in those circumstances. Zoning meeting tells you everything, or a neighborhood association. If you're focusing on Philly, neighborhood associations. Okay, I could tell you at every neighborhood association in Philadelphia, there's at least one real estate agent on that board. Why? They want to have a pulse on the market, right? They want to be the face of that neighborhood. They want to be that brand, their go-to. So if you want to learn your market, you need to go to those type of opportunities. When's the last time you've been to a sheriff sale in your market that you're focusing on, whether it's Philly, New Jersey, Delaware? Like this past week, I was just at the Newcastle sheriff sale in Delaware. Got to meet some really great people. And these are people walking around with $250,000 to $500,000 in their pocket. I like hanging out with people like that. I hope that karma rubs off on me. Right? When you want that kind of money, karma rubbing off on you in the same environment, these are people looking to buy opportunities at the sheriff's sale. Now, what happens to the deals that don't get sold at the sheriff's sales and get postponed or taken off the docket? Are those still opportunities for real estate investors? Yes, that's your off market. That's your off market. People are always looking for off-market deals. You're off-market or at real estate investor group meetings. Not always RIAs, but that could be in consideration. You could look at just smaller investor group meetings that are locally mindseted. Not any type of sell-a-thon type events where you could buy a house for $1. Those events don't waste your time with, because there's nobody there that has any money anyway. That's just a fact. If you think you're going to buy a house for $1, then you're in the wrong room. You want to be in the right rooms. So local knowledge, national headlines are useful, but real estate is very hyper-local. So whatever market you're going to focus in, you better, I get a kick out of people, hey, I'm going to start buying in Ohio. Well, have you been to Ohio in the last 4 weeks, once for a week at a time, once a month for a week at a time? No. I just talked to somebody on Zoom, and they have a one-stop shop. I wouldn't depend on anybody I don't know. You're not buying a bicycle here. You're not buying a puppy. You're buying a physical home that's going to hopefully produce income and tax impact for you on your bottom line for the next 30 years, right? So realistically, you got to be realistic about what your expectations are. If you want to buy in Ohio, you want to buy in Detroit, you want to buy in Rochester, you want to buy down in Virginia, all great markets, but you got to go out there and work the market. Be there 1 week a month and just work the market correctly and get and build your team of experts. That's separating the difference of people in 26 and any other year that I've seen. Real estate investing in 26 is not dead. The easy version is the new rules reward patience, better underwriting, stronger operations, and a deeper understanding of local demand. The investors who adapt will find opportunities. The ones still using the 2021 playbook may find out the hard way that the market has changed. Now, when it comes to rehab, construction, fix to rent, fix to flip, the three most important questions that we're asking as a lender to the investor is, what have you done in the last 3 years? Flips, bought and sold. Rehabs, renovated, and then rented and held and refinanced, and rentals acquired. Well, I bought 15 properties 20 years ago. That's great. But I didn't ask you that question. I asked you what you have done in the last 3 years. Well, I'm a licensed real estate agent. I've done 100 transactions. Again, let's go over the three questions. With ownership, how many properties have you bought and sold and flipped in the last 3 years? Oh, that's 0. How many rentals have you bought and refinanced as a BRRRR strategy in the last 3 years? That's 0. How many rentals have you acquired in the last 3 years? That's 0. Well, guess what? You're considered a newer investor in the eyes of the new lending landscape in non-QM lending. It's okay, but we have to humble you down, because I'm just asking you about the last 3 years. I don't really care what you've done 20 years ago. I care less. It's a nice story, but I care about the last 3 years, because what has happened in the last 3 years compared to the last 20 years ago? It was a completely different lending market, everything's different. Real estate's different, your real estate professional's different, everything's different. So what do I care what happened? That's like, to me, like when you tell me you're a licensed real estate agent and you've done 100 transactions for other people, other investors, that means you've walked by the gym and didn't go inside and work out 4 days a week. I know it's kind of funny if you think about that, but it's the truth, right? If you think about it. You walked by the gym and didn't go inside. You like the idea about the gym, but you just didn't go in. Any questions so far?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
One of my questions is, I understand you're talking about lending and loaning out money, people having exact numbers, but I just say like certain areas where houses do sell, like the difference is a big difference. Like I know in my development, right, I live in a housing development, and it's a townhouse development. We had houses that sold for $385, and some sold for $329. People took way less money. So it puts you in like
Same quality and condition of the, same everything. Well, then guess what your new comp is now? The 329.
Oh, it would be $329.
Well, I mean, no. How would I take a median if nothing sold at 380 and the last two sales have been at 329? I can't give you 30,000.
I'm saying you had some that sold at 385.
Well, then we have to see. So that really takes an appraiser's eye in where the relevant conditions are of those sold properties. I mean, it really comes down to condition. It could be a corner property comparatively to a middle of the road condition. I mean, there could be so many factors. Square footage. Was there a finished basement? Was there new AC? What were the mechanicals like? I mean, there's so many different factors that you need to know about those sold and settled and why that property sold for $329. Maybe the carpets were older than you and I combined in the property. Maybe the one that sold for $380 had hardwood floors. Did you really take a look at those comps and why they sold where they were? You got to take it's not, you can't just look at it over like 50-foot level. You got to really look into it. And then there's some financial questions, especially when it comes for we're looking to invest, right? So what is the actual cash flow on this property based on your rental market comps? Can you really make money? Like, I mean, to be honest with you, if you're making less than $500 a month, I wouldn't hire a property manager. Net per door. If you're making $500 a door plus, hire a property manager because they're taking 10% off the top. But if you're making less than $500 a door, what are you working for? You're working for Wendy's money, right? You're not making money because you're giving it back to whoever renovated the property. You're upside down technically because you're chasing your money now. For the individuals that are making $300 a door, plus having property management, what they're making, $200 a door? I mean, you're better off just putting your money in a stock account to make $200 a month with a whole lot less aggravation. Any good property manager is going to tell you, if you're making less than $500 a door, manage the property yourself. And there's ways of doing it. Okay? What is the DSCR rate? Like, what is the ratio? And that's we have a class on June 20th on white label marketing, on underwriting, how to be a better underwriter for your own deals or others. So I don't know who's licensed in here and who's not. If you're a licensed agent, you get 3 credits sitting in the class. It's 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We dive into it very hard. It's being held at Spire Abstract in Hatfield, New Jersey. We dive right into the underwriting all day. And then what's the cash on cash return? So if you're putting 20% down, 25% down, how long is it going to take you on the cash on cash to make back that down payment? Are you better off buying a bunch of turnkey properties or supposedly turnkey, or do you do BRRRR strategy and buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and redo? And have very little money into the deal by the time you refinance. So if you do a BRRRR strategy and you have still $10,000 stuck in the deal after the refinance, and you're making $500 a door, how long will it take you to get back that $10,000? Within the same year. You're going to make all that money back year 2. Now you're net profit. That's a lot better than putting $40,000 down and make $500 a door. Does that make sense as well? What deferred maintenance exists in the property? So if you're not making $500 a door and your AC unit goes, how much is that going to cost you? The rent for the rest of the year, any profit. Now you have no profit for the rest of the year. Gone. So does a turnkey sound better or a BRRRR strategy sound better? light to medium rehab, take care of all your mechanicals, take care of the maintenance, and make the property hard and strong, and then rent it to a tenant. And capture all your money back on the renovation and buy accordingly based on your after repair value, your repair numbers, and that dictates what your purchase price is, maximum. So I had another discussion with a group of licensed realtors, was it today, Saturday? Thursday. Had a gentleman call me and say, listen, I'm looking at this beautiful home. It's in a great corridor, but it's a mixed-use house. You know those big, beautiful homes that were converted to offices? And it's just a whole string of them. Well, it's run its time. It's no longer appealing to offices to have a big, bulky house as an office. There's only so many doctors to go around and dentists and financial planners to occupy these houses. So one of the units is completely gutted, needs a full reno. The rest of the house is aged. It's been on the market for like 60 to 90 days. And I explained to the gentleman, I said, this is no longer going to be I'm not confident about it being mixed use because I feel like a lot of properties are going to be unoccupied. You know, how many pot shops, massage parlors, and nail salons can you have at these places? And how many people really are looking for office space since everybody's going virtual? So what I would do is approach that township and say, can I convert this back to a 2-family residential property in lieu of doing a mixed use? And then if you decide to use one of the units as an office, as an additional office for your wife's business and everything, that's great. But right now, the best use to this property in this market is a 2-family house. Well, they'll never let that happen. I said, have you gone to the zoning meeting or the zoning board or the tax assessor to find out? No, then, and how are you telling me that's fact? You're giving me your personal opinion. I really don't care about your personal opinion. I care about the fact to the matter. That property would make more sense converting it to a 2-family house than a mixed-use renovation. Plus, a private lender such as myself doesn't want to touch a mixed use because your exit strategy is not non-QM. Because are you aware of non-QM or private lending? We don't collect tax returns, pay stubs, or W-2s or 1099s. Our rates are very competitive. They're actually better than the bank since we're offering 30-year money when they're offering 5-year money. And they're looking for tax returns, pay stubs, W-2s, 1099s. I'm not looking at anything. I'm looking at bank statements, soft pulling your credit. For mixed use, rates are like for non-QM because there's no documentation being collected, it's 9% minimum on 30-year money, where a bank can give you 5-year money, but what do they need? They need everything. It's a full doc loan, okay? And they're going to really scrutinize it because it's a mixed-use building. And then if you own or occupied, no non-QM lender can touch it because we're not allowed to do we're not allowed to do loans for owner occupied. It must be non-owner occupied. So already this deal doesn't sound good. It's terrible, actually. But I had conversations with the actual potential buyer, and he really appreciated me taking the time to go over everything. I had an hour to spare. I was driving. So I had a great conversation with him, and then I had another great conversation with the 2 realtors. They really didn't understand the market of lending for that type of property. Because they were thinking about maybe buying it themselves. I said, you need to buy that to make that into a 2-family house. So get the permits approved, allowing you to convert that into a 2-family house at closing. So then I can give you the rehabilitation money and the purchase money to convert that into a 2-family house. I didn't think about that. It wasn't like I came up with something that's not out of the ordinary. I would just be, if I was a real estate investor right now, I'd be concerned about mixed use with commercial space and residential. It looks nice, the lending sucks. Yes?
So in those situations, do direct lenders invest into CMX, even if it's in a popular area?
Not really. Well, what's a popular area?
Like an avenue where there's a lot of businesses?
South Street, where half of it's empty?
Or like,
I'm just giving you a hypothetical. I'm answering you back like where is a really active area that there's not 100 for leases up at the same time? Everybody's got for leases. I mean, there's a lot of emptiness, you know, in most markets. Even the great corridors like in South Jersey and North Jersey, they're still empty. There's units that have been empty for years. And you're like, why is that empty for so long? Why can't they do something with that? So there's also an ignorance to the people that run shop in most of these markets that, you know, if I was a savvy investor, I'd claim a hardship on the building. Say, hey, I can't rent this to anybody. No matter what rent I can't even cover my taxes if I rented it any lower. You're hitting me up for 20% increase in taxes, but I can't even get this thing to rent at minimum to cover my taxes. The only way I can cover my nut is to convert it to residential. So you're seeing a lot of conversions lately, right? You're seeing a lot of more residentially built out properties, and the mixed use is either very minimal or non-existent. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
I hope it does. So what capital expenditures will you face in a property in the next 5 years if you bought it today? What do you think? Anybody ever think about that? Maybe a new roof, parking lot repair, or driveway repair, HVAC systems, mechanicals, appliances, windows? Question.
I'm actually in the process of renovating 2 homes currently. I'm actually in the process of renovating 2 homes currently as a fix and flip. And one of the properties, I did the new roof, new slider for the back door, everything else was cosmetic, the floors, changing all fixtures and things like that. And with that process, it still came to about $30,000 for a 2-bedroom townhouse. So
I mean, so a light to medium rehab for most investors is highly suggestive. Like unless you're the GC, you're a licensed GC, why are you taking on full guts to the studs? To impress yourself or somebody else that you did a lopsided deal and you went lopsided on the deal? How many properties do you get to see that are for sale right now that are gutted to the studs and up for sale? That's a failed investor that's listing that property. That's a failed investor, right? And the realtor that's most likely listing it is not the listing agent that sold them that property, right? Because that person that's selling that and trying to unload it is pissed, right? So you got to be a common sense approach. I draw the relevance to the if you're a history buff, the Atlantic Ocean War, Maritime War, the British versus the Spanish back in the 1700s or 1600s. The British bulldogs were small, sleek ships. The Spanish Armada were very big and bulky ships. Guess who won that war? The small, sleek ones that could maneuver. Loaded medium rehabs get you completed. Like if the rehab is no more than 90 days, that's a good deal. When the rehab is taking 6 to 7 months, you're eating all your profitability away. There's no profitability on the end. The only profit there is for the realtor that sold you the property. If there was 2 realtors, they got their commissions. The contractor, you're the last one who makes any money if there's anything left. How's that sound? Doesn't sound too good, right? So you got to think about this through. Does it make sense? Are you trying to scale and own 10 properties in the next 5 years to supplement your income or replace your income with investment properties and tax write-offs and all types of capabilities? Or are you trying to give money back to other people other than yourself? You pick your poison. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just a lender. Some market questions. Why are people moving out of the area or moving into the area? What's incentivizing them? What is the landmarks that are motivating people to come back into certain markets? And what are things that are happening that are helping people move out of there? And where are they moving to? Has anybody done a migration analysis, you could use all the Grok, Gemini, and see where people are migrating to. I would love to see somebody do an analysis on, in the last 3 years, where have most people moved out of Philadelphia to? Migration-wise. And please break down a percentage between South Jersey corridor and the surrounding counties of Pennsylvania or Delaware or a whole nother state. I'd love to see what those percentages look like. Because they'll give you that data. It'll be hard and raw. I mean, the South Jersey corridor is popping in all different directions. You go out toward King of Prussia and other area, it's all popping. People are not moving back in, they're moving back out. The wheels have reversed very quickly post-COVID. Everybody's moving back into Philly before COVID. Everybody, oh yeah, we're gonna all live in Philadelphia. It was great. And now it's changing.
Yeah.
So who's your tenant today if you're gonna play landlord in Philadelphia? Or any city like a Philadelphia? Philadelphia's no different than a lot of these other markets that are out there, right? There's no difference. I'm doing a general, we're doing this call, this podcast from Philadelphia, but this stands for any market. And what is the rental demand? And what is that rental demand look like? What's the average days on the market for the rents that are up for rent? What's the vacancy rates? What's the rent growth trends? So like, you're telling me you renovate a property, you stabilize it, and you put it up for rent, it rents day one? Or is that gonna be empty for the next 90 days? Who's carrying that debt? You. So are you really making $500 net a month day one? No. So why would you want to do a high reno 6-7 months later than to make only $500 a month? I'd rather do a 2 to 3 month reno to make $500 a month. Does it make sense? What is being built nearby? What is your competition? Who are you competing against for your single family row, or your 2 family, your 3 family, your 4 family, your 5 family, your 8 family? Right? Is it new apartments? Does it come with a gym? What's their amenities? Do they have a co-working space? They're providing Wi-Fi. There's various things that you need to know what you're up against and what can you extend differently to a potential tenant to get relevant to the rental market comp. You got to know what your potential competition is. And if you're selling or you're flipping, the answer often reveals negotiating leverage. How long has the property been on the market, right? Longer market times often create opportunities. I mean, I'd love to take a look at what properties are on the market listed for 5 months, because either that person that's selling that property is going to get rid of that realtor on the 6th month, or that realtor needs to look at all pending offers. Okay? And has it had any previous offers, and why did they fall through? So also, you got to ask about your tenant if you're buying something more turnkey or something that needs light to medium rehab and there's a tenant involved. Or it's a 2-family, 1 tenant, and there's a tenant living in both units. So you got to understand what's going on. Are they expiring? Are they month to month? Do they have long-term leases signed? What is the tenant turnover history in that area? Are the rents market rent currently, or is there some room if you make some improvements around the current tenants? And can you get that new rent from that tenant? Or you're going to have to vacate them to get that better rent? How sensitive is the deal to interest rates? So like I gave an example before where at 6.5 it was par pricing, 6.75 was no origination, there was no difference in the DSCR rate. So the rate didn't really matter, the structure mattered. It was still 20% down, but there was no change to the DSCR. 0 change, like 0.0003 change, which is almost 0. So did the rate matter or did the structure matter? Structure. What financing options exist? I mean, most people are going, like as an investor, most people are going non-QM. They're not calling the bank. They're not calling the local credit union unless it's too small, it's an oddball deal, square footage issues. But then now you're giving all your documentation to find out whether you're approved or not. And they're doing a hard pull. And they're checking your tax returns every year. And they're only giving you 5-year fixed money. I'm not trying to give you all the negatives, but I worked for a bank before I was in private lending, so I get it. What is your exit strategy to the property? I want to hold it for the next 30 years. Okay, that's a great exit strategy. I want to sell it in 5 years. The average investor does something with their property, whether it's a refinance or sell-off, on a property that they acquire today every 7 years, on average. Whether it's rate change, cash out, sell-off, whatever. Something. They pass away, something happens. Unexpected repairs, what could go wrong, right? Unexpected repairs, higher vacancies now, change of market, insurance increases. Like I said, rent, insurance, I could have told you 5-10 years ago, $900 to $1,000 for insurance in Philadelphia row home. Now they're anywhere from $1,300 to $1,500. Completely different completely. Property taxes are now based on the assessed values of the property. I mean, taxes in Philadelphia 10 years ago, you'd be paying $800 a year. Now it's $3,200 a year. They caught up finally to the real world of the value of the home. But people were getting away with it for 50 years. They had what? I think we had a house in Fishtown where the taxes were like $800 a year. Now that same tax base is like $3,000. That's a big change for somebody that's on a fixed income. Well, what if you're renting the property? Can you, if the market rate is $1,800, you can't ask for $200 more because your taxes went up. And you're already getting market rent. You can't ask for more above the market rate. The person will move out and find somewhere else. Does that make sense? Can I survive this property financially? Before every purchase, ask, if appreciation was 0 for the next 5 years, would I still buy this property? In today's market, especially in a market like Philadelphia and surrounding areas, investors who can answer yes are typically making decisions based on cash flow, demand, and fundamentals rather than speculations. The single question eliminates many bad investments and highlights the deals that are worth pursuing. Do you have any questions? I know you've been listening pretty well. Any thoughts? I mean, you own some investment properties.
Do
Do you have any questions?
If I do?
No, but do you have any questions?
Oh, if I have
How about you?
I do. For direct lending, you said with the bank it's about 6 months, but for direct lending, how long is that term? Is that 12 months or
For what?
if you get money through a direct lender versus?
For a construction loan?
Yes.
For rehab construction, banks don't offer construction loans. So a direct private lender offers money, typically it's a 12-month interest-only loan.
Okay.
You don't want to be in there for 12 months. You want to be out of there. There's no prepayment, so you could refinance or sell the property off at any time you want. So if it is a flip, fine. If it's a refinance, the whole for cash flow, there's no seasoning with it typically. Typically it's 91 days.
Okay.
For this, a bank will take 6 months to 12 months to do a refinance cash out. You need to hold it for 6 months with a local bank, and it's full documented. I'm not collecting your tax returns, pay stubs, W-2s, or 1099s.
And the interest rate is just whatever the going rate is? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we in the underwriting course, I provide you the software to price your own loans out. Now they update every like 15 or so days, but in the workshop that I offer on June 20th, I provide you the software to price your own loan out. So I show you how to price it out with origination at par pricing, or no origination at pricing with the rate baked in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's for 30-year fixed money or 10-year interest only 30-year amortized loans, up to 80% loan to value, whether refinance or purchase. Question?
Oh, yeah, I do. The 10-year loan, what is that?
The 10-year interest only is a 30-year amortized loan. But some people like doing a 10-year interest only. They're not worried about the value. If the market's stale and it's not going to appreciate more than 3% average per year, does it make sense to do a 10-year interest only? Some people it does.
If you sell early on a 10-year loan?
All initial pricing on all loans in private lending is a 5-4-3-2-1 prepayment. You could ask for a 3-2-1. You could ask for a 1-year prepayment, but your pricing worsens. The better the prepayment. Now this is the thing with a prepayment. If you sell the property off or you want to refinance it, that's only the time you get hit with the full penalty against the loan amount on the prepayment. But if you say you want to set the loan up as a 20-year mortgage, but it's a 30-year, but you set up as a 20-year, you make payments you're not going to get hit with a penalty. Because as long as you don't pay more than 20% of the total loan amount off per year during that penalty, you don't get hit with the penalty. Does that make sense? So if you set up 20 payments a year, I'm just using a thing, 18 payments a year, and you only make 12 payments a year, but you made 6, as long as that loan amount is lower, that amount that you paid toward that is lower than 20%, you're never going to be penalized. So I know a lot of people, including myself, that treated my loans as a 15 or 20 year, even though I took a 30 year out. So I was always paying down balance quicker. But you got to look at the profitability of the property. Does it make sense? I mean, if you're only making $300 a door, making 18 payments, you're making no money. Oh, great, you're paying the balance down, but it doesn't matter. Now, example, Florida, where it was very hot in South Florida for a while. People were flipping properties with their eyes closed. Well, that slowed down. So now they never thought about the market rent. Nobody did an underwrite saying, hey, I'm going to flip this property. Well, did you ever look at the rent if you didn't flip it? So a lot of those individuals are taking 10-year interest only because the DSCR is very tight because the rents don't match up with their current debt stack. So a 10-year interest only makes a lot of sense for them because they could breathe a little bit. They're not making a lot of money. I know a lot of guys like in St. Pete's and Tampa area, they're making like $300 a door, but they got out of the hard money loan or the private lending loan. They had to. They're at 80% loan to value. They might flip it down the road, so they take a 1 or 2 year prepayment, lick their wounds a little, and then maybe sell to the person that's renting from them. Do a lease back option. That's happening a lot down in South Florida. South Florida is a little, well, that's why they're trying to do the whole thing with the property tax thing down there, because it's tough right now. North Florida is great, no problems there. And the insurance is completely different. Insurance in South Florida, oh my gosh. You don't even want to look at the insurance quotes there. You'd lose your mind.
What are they doing?
Oh.
Property taxes?
They might try to remediate them. Or like, there's different ways they're going to, like, you're still kicking the can on the taxes, but they'll reallocate where you got to pay through somewhere else. Like there's just a lot of plans down there because of what's happening in South Florida. North Florida doesn't have flood insurance issues. South Florida does. They have more carriers in North Florida than South Florida. I think there's like 3 carriers total that are doing insurance policies in all of South Florida because it's tough right now. I'm not saying that's a great market to go at, but I'm just saying it's a different type of market to go after. Now everybody flocked to North Carolina where a lot of people they kind of took a pass on South Carolina. So South Carolina is actually a good market. Better tax base than Florida. I mean, there's only so much stuff you can do in Charlotte or Raleigh. I'd be looking at some of these other, smaller, mid-sized markets in South Carolina that are real potential. Hey, listen, there's other places other than Atlanta, Georgia, in Georgia. Start looking outside. Like everybody's in Atlanta. Why go where all the flock of fish are going? Right? If you're going to be an out-of-state landlord, do you have to be a Philadelphia landlord if you live in Philadelphia? No. You could buy in the Delaware County market. Chester County market is probably one of the only appreciating counties doing really well other than Bucks in the area. Delaware has a good tax base. Maybe we could do some work down there in the surrounding area for Wilmington or Newcastle or Newark areas. I'm not saying to be an inner city landlord. I mean, it's not everybody's cracked up to be that type of landlord. Maybe they leverage the suburbs. You ever been to Claymont? Great area. People want. It's very convenient to so many different places. You could be in Turnpike. You could be at Parkway. You could be everywhere and anywhere you need to be within 45 minutes on any main thoroughway, right? You got a train station.
Is it Claymont?
Claymont. It's right on the border of Delaware and it's like your Delaware version of Delco. A lot of Delco people moved to Claymont just because better tax base or lesser expensive tax base.
And you said Chester is coming up? Chester?
I never said that. I said Chester County, not Chester.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Chester's completely different. Yeah, I mean they still got to figure out how to pave the parking lot for the soccer league team. I mean that's kind of a disgrace if you think about it. Another thing is if you look at communities, you ever go by the Little League fields and see who has the most sponsorship signs? That means that community is solid. Like Yardell lives over in 18th in Oregon, right? There's a baseball field there, signs around the whole thing. I mean, there's sponsorship signs. There's more sponsorship signs than they could fit. Then you go to some other baseball fields that are for kids, and no baseball signs. It just tells you the community's not behind it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You go to Fishtown, you ever go to Fishtown, the Little League field? Signs everywhere. Bridesburg, signs everywhere. They're supporting the community. So like if you go out to the suburbs, go look at the baseball fields and see how many sponsorship signs are in those communities. Right? This is all common sense approach. This is not stuff that's just like lost in the sauce, right? Makes sense, right? So I hope this helps a little bit. I don't know what your expectations were when you came. We met those expectations. Like again, I have an underwriting course on June 20th. We go into it all day. So you're more than welcome to sign up and register for that. We usually get about 10 to 15 people. I don't really want more than, we had 35 people in this one class I had. It was too much for me. Because think about it, 35 different people asking 35 different questions. But if I had 15 people, it's a little more controllable chaos.
And at the underwriting class, you guys are going over deals underwriting.
All of it. Oh, yeah.
It's specific to a deal that you have that the person is working on?
I look at 100 deals a week. So like you could bring your own deals or what you think is a deal. Just don't get teary-eyed if I beat you up a little bit emotionally on the deal itself, but you need that. When you want that, Yardell, do you have anything to add to our discussion this morning?
No, nothing. I'm just here to learn from that and like everyone else. Like I said, this year, I want to grow up and be a big boy like you and get into real estate.
Big boy?
Yeah.
No. You don't wear big boy pants? Well, I want to thank everybody for listening in this morning. I want to thank Yardell Perkins of Perkatech, who orchestrates the podcast. I really appreciate the guests that have attended this morning. Great questions, by the way. I mean, you know, less is more. We don't usually get live audience. I extended it out to the live audience, but like, do people come? We have 23 people registered today. So that some of them might be listening online, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn. But I want to thank the young ladies that have attended this morning because they were great questions to add to this discussion. So June 20th, we have the underwriting course at 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. held at Spire Abstract in Haddonfield, New Jersey. Then June 29th, we have a cigar for closers at the Capelli Cigar Company down in Midtown Village on the second floor. We're going to have some light beverage, some wine, some light beverage, some snacks, cigars, of course. You don't have to be a smoker. You could just be in attendance. You could smoke a pipe. You could do all kinds of stuff there. It'll be a lot of fun. But we're going to have a good time just networking. We just had a wonderful event up at Cigars International in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Had 40 real estate professionals in the room. Everybody getting to know one another. So I can tell you already what we're scheduling for the fall. We do have a cigar event scheduled October 14th up in Bethlehem in Lehigh Valley, which is a Wednesday night. And then the first Friday in October, we're going to have a wine tasting and cheese mixer here at the Philadelphia School of Massage and Body Work in October. And then we'll start up the underwriting courses again, third Saturday of the month in September. We'll most likely have that one here in Philadelphia or maybe up in Connecticut at my office in Westport. But we'll have it in different places, Lehigh Valley, North Jersey, South Jersey, Delaware, Connecticut. Maybe I'm extended an invite to another market. Come and teach that workshop at one of your upcoming real estate investor group meetings on a Saturday. One last question. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, go to creativebirdstrategies.com for all our podcasts, or go to josephvscarice.com. If you need to contact me directly, all my contact information is there. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great day.